Hello, BookTube. We're back with more books because I get books in the mail for free, which makes an utter mockery of what we've been doing the last few days.
Yeah.
I get books in the mail for free. So I have a mail haul I want to take you through. I don't often get to do a mail haul with a friend. We've got periodicals first. Martha's Vineyard Gazette. We will not be making our way to the vineyard this time around. This is a broadsheet newspaper for Martha's Vineyard off the coast of Massachusetts. I am currently working on a slate of reviews for the Gazette. If only publishers would send the books to me, that would be great. Then we have two copies. I got two copies at the same time, two issues of the TLS. Always fun to do. You start with the earlier one and just read straight through. I haven't even glanced at these things, table of contents, to see what they're covering and what I've read and what I haven't read. But I did glance at the letters pages, just in case any of you are following this saga, the saga of singing Horace. Whether or not Horace's verses were sung when Horace was alive, whether they were put to music and sung. And what the original critic of Peter Wiseman's book said, no, they obviously weren't. And Wiseman wrote back and said, why do you say obviously? I'm a classicist, same as you are. And I see plenty of evidence that there is. All I've ever heard people say they obviously weren't sung is people just repeating other people. Could you show me evidence, please? And the TLS, the editors must just love that this is going on and on because it's in both these issues. But in the letters page of the earlier TLS was a letter that took the words right out of my mouth. I was irate when I read the review. It looks like I didn't have to worry. Someone wrote in from Nashville, Tennessee. So I didn't have to. This is a review of a new art exhibit about art in Venice. That the TLS had a review of it, and the reviewer was a little boneheaded, a little lazy. And we get, this is not an author writing it. This is, in his review of Martin Gayford's Venice City of Pictures, Keith Miller asserts that Tiepolo was, quote, terrible at anatomy and perspective. I practically spit take my wine when I read that the first time. It is not clear if the blame for this shocking untruth should be charged to Miller or Gayford, nor do we learn if the author of the book addresses Tiepolo's magnificent draughtsmanship, hundreds of drawings in which human figures and receding perspective are brought to new peaks of technical innovation and humane insight. The subjectivity of this judgment reaches a vanishing point in the objective glory of Tiepolo's drawings. I don't like the Ponzi way that it's written, but I agree completely. I didn't know what the writer was thinking, that he stinks at anatomy. If you go to Venice, you should make a point of rounding up as many Tiepolo murals as you can, as many of his frescoes. But then we've got packages, no boxes, but a bunch of packages here. I want to disturb the invoice there. Some of these might be for you.
Oh, yeah,
you never know.
Be a David book in here, yeah.
So we have basic books. This is Suleiman Wasif Khan. Wish I were called Suleiman Wasif Khan. That's awesome. This is The Struggle for Taiwan, a history of America, China, and the island caught between. This is a May book. When Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi declared her intent to visit Taiwan in 2022, it sparked frenzied discussions across the United States, China, and Taiwan. A discourse that was characterized by amnesia and half-truths about the history of this pivotal island nation. Today, as relations between Washington and Beijing deteriorate and as tensions over Taiwan reach a boiling point, its survival as an independent democracy is precarious indeed. Any attempt to resolve the impasse and avert a devastating war demands we understand how it all began. Okay, great, fantastic. So you get the whole history of the thing. Great, fantastic. May, all right. There's two kinds of paperwork in these things, and one of the kind I'm going to try to preserve here, rather than just rip through it. Oh, what on earth? I tell you, I'm particularly fond of one publicist at Basic Books. He customizes every pub sheet. So this comes out, in August. This is a long time away. This is by Frank Andre Guridi, and it's called The Stadium, An American History of Politics, Protest, and Play.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, that's a Zach book, I would think. What comes to mind when we think of stadiums in the United States? One thing and one thing only. Fenway Park. is the only thing that comes to your mind. For most of us, it's entertainment. Football games, Taylor Swift concerts, monster truck rallies, and rodeos. But as this book points out, over the past 150 years, they have been where people gather to wrestle over defining the soul of America. From the wooden ballparks of the 19th century to today's glass and steel mega stadiums, these buildings have been the public squares where Americans push and pull over issues of race, class, gender, and sexual inequalities. In this book, the author writes of its remarkable role as a space of protest and politics, not just play, and tells the dramatic people's history of American life. Okay. Sounds like that's over egging the pudding. I mean, okay, it looks like the overcompensator is now a couple of miles away. That's great. So this might not be a Zach book at all. It doesn't sound like this is going to be about baseball. It sounds like it's going to be about
yeah, or it'll be a footnote.
Yeah, it'll be a
chapter.
Sports itself will be a footnote.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's August, so I don't need to worry about it.
I think that could be good.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
We also have Gillette Stadium. We drove right by it today. God. Egghead thing. I don't have someone steeped in science to review for me for open letters. I don't have someone with a science background. I have to sort of limp along myself. And that's totally legitimate, because if you're writing a book for public consumption, for a general interest audience, the audience should be able to limp along. If they're not able to limp along, you're writing a bad book, regardless of how knowledgeable you are. But it'd be nice. It'd be nice if I could find a scientist who can write. That's really hard to do. So this is June. This is Escape from Shadow Physics, The Quest to End the Dark Ages of Quantum Theory. I didn't know we were in the dark ages of quantum theory. Quantum physics is known for being a strange theory that, in the words of renowned theoretical physicist Richard Feynman, nobody understands. Yeah, Feynman's famous quote is, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics, which is pretty bad. If you think about that, it's great as a quip, but it's pretty bad. It means you're dealing with religion. For decades, the most common and influential interpretation told us that quantum world is mystical, that our very conception of the world as actually existing is wrong, that at the deepest levels of reality there are no actual causes for atomic events. This idea led to the outlandish belief that quantum objects, indeed reality itself, aren't real unless shaped by human measurement. But what if they're wrong? We get into deep discussions like this late at night over wine and calzones here at Hyde Cottage, and then at the same time we look at each other and say, oh, let's just watch True Grit. That's where you're going to find the true essence of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Although the line that we both love the most, I can't repeat on book 2.
I know, I was just thinking the same thing.
I know, we finish each other's sentences.
Walked on the beach today.
Yeah, long walks on the beach. Yes. You're going to have so much ground to reclaim when you get back to the other.
I'm going to have a lot to think about on my flight home.
Yes. He's going to have to reclaim the heterosexual card. He's going to have to reacquaint himself with these things called vegetables.
I need an apple or something so badly right now.
In this book, the author argues for a revolutionary new understanding of quantum mechanics. You see, though, if you had a legitimate revolutionary way to understand it, it would be in a peer-reviewed journal that 16 people would read.
I was just thinking the same thing.
It wouldn't be in a book. No offense to the great folks at Basic Books. This is just you stirring the pot. If you had something new to say, you'd win the Nobel Prize for it. Reality isn't mysterious or dependent on human measurement, but predictable and independent of us. At the heart of his argument is groundbreaking research with little drops of oil. In over a dozen laboratories across the globe, scientists are generating quantum analogs using droplets of oil bouncing on vibrating baths. That sounds like something we should try tonight. Oh, no. We already agreed that kind of humor doesn't fly. So we can't indulge in it. These models were said to be impossible. That's been the story of my life. And yet, here they are, sensible and beautiful. Kay reveals the details of these models and what they say about the future and the past of physical theory. But why would they say anything about the subatomic world?
Yeah.
Isn't the whole idea that the micro world, the quantum world doesn't behave like the macro world? That's the intuitive disjoint, is that it doesn't behave the same? What would a study of something, I mean, you could fit 10 billion trillion quantum particles in one droplet of oil. What? Well, I guess I'll have to read the book to find out.
Where are they at?
Oh, the author?
Do they teach? Yeah, do they teach?
He has two PhDs, one in literature at the University of Cambridge and the other in mathematics at the University of Oxford. So he's not qualified to write this book. He has no degrees in physics. He has no degrees in quantum mechanics.
Does he cite himself?
He's currently a researcher at MIT and lives in Cambridge. Okay, well...
he hasn't written any academic papers on that, otherwise he would have put himself in the bibliography.
Well, it comes out in June. It could be very interesting. You never know.
Although it is lots of sources. Okay, interesting, yeah. I might even read that.
Oh. This one's got some half.
Yeah,
Oh, no, it's 2 books.
So it's not a 1,000-page treatise on economics.
I get free books in the mail. Anything I ask for. What have we been doing these last 3 days? I get free books in the mail. I know, out of the blue, I thought I would just repeat that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. These are both... one is May, one is June. The June one is Hugh Wilford, The CIA, An Imperial History. These don't have sheets.
What an interesting title.
Oh, no, they do have sheets. Great. Fantastic. Yeah, dear editor / producer. God forbid you're sending it to a book reviewer. Let's see here. In the popular imagination, agents of the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, are conventionally known as spies. Their work is largely classified, but they're understood to gather intelligence, carry out covert operations, and handle matters of national security. There is a certain amount of intrigue surrounding the agency. What is publicly known about it is shaped by the works of fiction that glamorize it, or the few widely known real-life CIA operations, including spy battles against Soviet KGB agents during the Cold War, and the mission to hunt and ultimately kill Osama bin Laden in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. Mostly, though, in fiction. I think I read a thriller just a few years ago about a rogue U.S. president who steals extremely classified CIA documents and sells them to America's enemies. I don't know how it got published. I mean, that's obviously impossible. The author even included a ridiculous detail about how this figure stored these things in a bathroom. I mean, honestly, who makes these things up? What are the origins of the CIA? Okay, is that what this is? Imperial history. The agency was officially founded in 1947 in response to tensions with the Soviet Union. Yet to understand the full impact of the CIA, the author argues that one must take a broader look at its history, even beyond the U.S.'s earliest official examples of counterintelligence during conflicts like the American Revolution and the World Wars. Okay, more egging the pudding. I mean, what on earth? Why do you need a 1,000-year history of the CIA? But it could be good. You never know. Who is the author when he's at home? Professor of History at California State University, Long Beach. And the author of 5 books, including America's Great Game and The Mighty Wurlitzer. I don't know that I've read either one of those. Okay. Well, the central question in a book like this, the CIA in its history is 90% evil. It's just 90%
and
inept, toppling democratically elected governments because we don't like who they elected. That was the CIA's job for decades and decades and decades. Yes, there were spies, and yes, there were. And yes, there were, I'm sure, cases and whatnot, but they mostly topple governments. If this book isn't that, well, I'm hoping that it will be because of the title, An Imperial History. I'm hoping that we'll get. If you're going to write a long history of the CIA, it has to be mostly condemning the organization.
Yeah.
And I don't know that this will. Then we have this comes out in May. This is Mike Rappaport. Why do I know that name?
That sounds familiar to me too.
Professor of History at the University of Glasgow. The author of 1848, Year in Revolution. Oh, and the Napoleonic Wars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Napoleonic Wars. That's what
this is City of Light, City of Shadows, Paris in the Belle Epoque. The kind of book, there have been 50 of these, and now in 2024, you literally could have an AI write this. we'll just see. I seem to have a favorable association with his name as an author, so that would be the thing that would save this. These things, there have been a lot of books like this. Known for its glamorous fashion, sophisticated art scene, and iconic architecture. Are they talking about Hyde Cottage? Paris remains a global center for culture and a dream vacation spot for travelers all over the world. Sure, you like overpriced coffee that's practically thrown in your face by the rudest person you'll ever meet in your life.
And it's tiny.
Many of the specific features we associate with Paris today, impressive sights like the Eiffel Tower, Sacred Heart, French cinema, even the distinguished Art Nouveau metro entrances. Those aren't any of the things I was thinking of for associating with Paris today. Were born out of the period of the Belle Epoque. This era, which lasted from the later 19th century up to the beginning of World War I, is oft characterized as one of pleasure, wealth, and beauty. Okay, I'm looking at the name of the publicist who wrote this, but I don't think she wrote oft. I think that's the other publicist that I was talking about. That's something he would write. I don't know who does that. In this book, the author takes a deeper look at this period, which left its indelible mark on French identity. Not one person in 50 that you stopped on the streets in Paris would have any idea what you were talking about. I guess buildings. I think that's indelible, I guess.
Yeah.
Tell that to the Germans. Tell that to the Japanese. I'm not sure that that's indelible. I guess you must mean that. To structure his narrative, the author uses the famous sites and buildings of the period. Through detailed descriptions of the renowned monuments, opulent department stores and boulevards, and the metro, as well as some of the more bustling workaday streets, he produces a vibrant history of the time and effectively gives readers a guidebook to Paris, as tourists can visit these places today. Okay, all right. The key here will be, okay, is that a simile, or is this actually just a guidebook that has a little bit of pretension? We shall see. I wanted to have a little more meat on its bones than if you turn left at this corner, you will get this building. Let us look at it together. Have you been to Paris?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. I was there for, a month, 6 weeks, something like that. I hated it at first, but I came to love it. I was there, I came in really bad weather, and I wasn't getting along with the locals. And I was there in early spring, so it was off tour season. I was just having a bad time, and then one day my friend, who had been there before and he liked Paris, he said, "David, let's go out." And the weather had finally turned nice, so we picked up some baguettes and a couple bottles of wine, and we were down by Notre Dame on the canal. And the sun came out, and it was beautiful. And then right there, I was like, Paris is okay. And then from there, I liked it more and more, and just mostly spent my time in museums. So.
Okay. I suppose it would be useless to point out that he is actually straight. that was the single gayest story that's ever been told on this channel. And I've told anecdotes about Roger and David Niven. You still beat me. So you got some baguettes and a couple of bottles of wine. You strolled along the boulevard. Well, that's lovely. There's been a bit of teasing on this topic, but if he's going to give me layups like that, what am I supposed to do?
I have a girlfriend. I don't have any pictures.
She lives in Canada. You don't know her. So, well, what was I supposed to do with that, honestly?
I should have known as I was saying it. That was bad.
Oh, all right. So do we have... Is this a work of translation? Yes, it is. Okay. Okay, what a weird-looking thing. All right, this is not a clean sweep of basic books. This is somebody else. The folks at Other Press sent me The Devil's Grip by Lena Wolf. So he's just doing a circuit. He's going around and around. This is translated from the Swedish by Saskia Vogel. This person wrote a book called Carnality. That's vaguely ringing a bell. Okay, so this came out in 2022, and now it is translated into English. And we're off to a rocky start immediately, because the epigraph of the book is, "Welcome to my house. Come freely, go safely, and leave something of the happiness you bring." You know who said that quote, right? Everybody in the world, Michael K. Vaughan, is singing right now, and everybody knows who said that quote. It's Count Dracula. It's not Bram Stoker. Bram Stoker didn't say that. But anyway, when she gets to Florence, all the couples making love are what overwhelm her first. Together they stroll through arched passageways in the inner city, and above their heads run dark, ancient beams. The place is hot and grandiose, nothing like she imagined it would be when once, many years ago, her train had stalled at the station. Okay, so what is this? A wickedly dark with a mystical edge. Okay. A woman arrives in Florence, overwhelmed by the strange, warm city so different from her home. Amidst the Renaissance architecture and amorous couples, she finds an unexpected love of her own. With his dark, ugly looks, people might stop and stare, wondering what someone like her was doing with someone like him. Are you implying that we should know that she is not also dark and ugly? We're just supposed to accept that. But he's the Mickey to her Minnie. And she can fix him. They can fix each other. She feels bound to him, body and soul. It's not long before the lying starts. Other women have begun to notice him, and she spirals into paranoia. Soon they're both cheating and lashing out, and she becomes more and more convinced he's not merely a violent man. There's a demon inside him, and inside her, too. Their grip on each other is so strong it might be impossible to break, even after she puts an ocean between them, following another man to New Orleans. Okay, Lena Wolf, are you going to annoy me for 300 pages by not giving your protagonist names? Is that what you're going to do? You're born in Lund and lived for several years in Spain and Italy, where she worked as a translator. And in 2012, her debut novel in 2012 was Bret Easton Ellis and Other Dogs. And her second book was The Polyglot Lovers. Okay, some of you are going to know this author. I know you are. I don't know this author at all. I don't think I ever read Carnality. I certainly never read anything called Bret Easton Ellis and Other Dogs. But I'll definitely read this. I don't have any kind of information on it, but this is a finished copy. This is going to be $17. So this might be out now. So there you go. There's nothing else, right?
That's it.
Nothing over there.
Yeah.
There you go. We have just a gigantic pile of great stuff. That's 3 or 4 days of reading. Free in the mail. And it's going to happen again tomorrow. But instead, there's piles of books everywhere. If you could see this. There's piles of books everywhere here. But anyway, the mail must go on. The mail hauls must go on. So we'll wrap this up for now.
For now.
But we'll be back. There'll be more.
And I'll be
bookish
hauling back issues of Playboy and the like.
Playboy? Did you say? Oh. He just reads it for the articles anyway. Looking for some sort of tips, I guess. I had no idea. I thought the David Niven anecdotes would get the prize on this channel for all time. But anyway, not that there's anything wrong with that. Anyway.
Thanks, BookTube. Thanks for nothing, Steve.
Yes, he'll be blinking systematically with the left eye to signal for help in the next video. But anyway, we're going to wrap this up. We'll be back.